So with that, I think we should get into the Kendrick Lamar halftime show. Controversial. I think it was a very, very polarizing performance, to say the least. I think you had people who just didn't get the performance at all. I think you have people who think that it was a layered
Like
genius
those people, D, none.
and it's the greatest halftime show of all time. And there's people who are in the middle, like me, where um, I think there were certain things about the performance that were genius, and I think there were certain things that weren't the strongest moments in the particular performance. As a Kendrick Lamar fan since Good Kid, Mad City, I wasn't really checking for him Section 80, but since Good Kid, Mad City, I can say that as a Kendrick Lamar fan, I enjoyed it. I felt like it was too GNX centric in terms of some of my predictions. It looks like the four that I predicted got in there. In the terms of the second tier and the dark horse, Luther made it. We knew all the stars was going to make it. We knew that was going to happen. SZA completely got shut out from the solo mission. I thought she was going to get to do a verse of Kill Bill, but instead she just got the verses on Luther and the hook on All the Stars, which is fine. What I would say before we get into the symbolism, the depth, the political statements, etc., I am going to cynically say this felt like an extended ad for the GNX album in a way that I was not expecting. And what I mean by that is there were three songs that I think could have been left off that he inserted for GNX. He didn't do full versions of them, but to do them over, let's say, the verse of Like That, which was a #1 record, the Bad Blood verse with a shout out to Taylor, who was in the stadium. Even some of his other hits, like either Swimming Pools or Don't Kill My Vibe. Even These Walls Are All Right, which I know he did when he popped out with Dre, but he still could have done it again. It is a known protest song, and given that was the tenor of what halftime show is, All Right could have been snuck in there over Peekaboo or GNX or Man at the Garden, right? So what I'm going to say, and I think even there's a moment in the performance he says, this is GNX. So he's clearly trying to, one, hype up the GNX album, two, sell tickets for the GNX tour with SZA. I get it.
As he should.
I'm not hating on it. But before we even get to the symbolism and the politics of it all, it felt GNX centric. It felt like he was really trying to sell the album and promote the tour, which I'm not mad at. I would say typically the expectation of Superbowl performance is you simply load up on the hits. You don't load up on your newest album. So it was a choice. Now that I've gotten the cynicism out of the way, I will say that the inclusion of Sam Jackson as Uncle Sam was clever, was unexpected. Seeing Serena Crip walk during Not Like Us,
not on my bingo card.
Iconic moment, especially because we know that she's done it a few different times. I think Wimbledon when she won. I think also the Olympics. It's like one of the celebrations, and we're at a point where the Crip Walk is considered a West Coast dance more than a hard tie to LA gang culture like it once was. Like when I was younger, you weren't allowed to Crip Walk if you weren't a Crip. That was a dance that Crips did at their parties. And if you did it, you needed to have a conversation if there was a Crip around you. That's just how it was when I was growing up. So I never learned the Crip Walk. I never attempted to do it. I think now the youngins have kind of just made it a dance that represents the West Coast, and it's become a lot less tied to the actual Crip gang. So
it's the West Coast Harlem Shake.
Right. So that's my initial intro without getting to the politics and the symbolism of it all. I thought it was a decent performance. As a fan, I would have liked to hear more hits. And I think that he could have included some of those hits because at the point you're going to do Euphoria, you can definitely do the Like That first. We get it. You wanted to get two off against Drake. Cool. Euphoria is cool, but Like That was a bigger record. Like, you could have done that too. You could have even just done a Screw Drake or Fuck Drake section. I would have been fine with it. I think everybody would have been fine with it because he made some bangers dissing Drake. Like, it just is what it is. Like, apparently hating on Drake brings the best out of Kendrick. Shout out to him.
I mean, that's a career move for most battle rappers these days.
So, Brian, what did you think? I think Gary took an intermission, but Brian, what did you think? And then we'll go to Gary. What do you think about that?
Yeah, no. It's pretty much the same. Yeah, honestly, I thought if it was going to be as deep as he wanted it to be, as performant as he wanted to be, I thought it was going to be a bigger show. To be honest with you, like, I was watching, shout out to Bomani Jones. Like, I was watching, his take on it, and I kind of agree to where, like, the Beyonce halftime show for the Christmas football game was it on Netflix? I can't remember. There's so many stations now, or so many streamers.
Yeah, Netflix.
If you had swapped those two, like, that show was more of a Super Bowl show than what he did. Yeah. So that's kind of where I looked at it. But as far as performance value, it was there. I mean, I'm kind of Switzerland on the messages, because I think he gets a little too much in his head sometimes. But it was a solid playlist. I agree with you. Like, I would have liked to see a few more hits. But I mean, I think he completed the assignment. Yeah. I needed that after watching that first half. I can tell you that.
Yeah, it was good to see him on that big stage. Yeah. I thought, the way that they transitioned some of the dancer to American flag divided, swastikas, etc. Like, I get it. I get that there was some subtlety, and I think the genius of Kendrick Lamar is similar to some, I think, the rappers we grew up on, where there were just layers of, like, I'd say, like, double entendres, triple entendres, symbolism that the more you studied it, the more it paid off. I think that's what this performance was. Like, you could watch the 12 minutes of it, but I think it's known that in this day and age where you have YouTube, you have DVR, TiVo, whatever you want to call it, people able to record, rewatch, screen record, run it again, et cetera, et cetera. He knew that because he did it this way, people are going to rewind, play it again. Oh, I missed this part. Oh, this must mean this, right? The amount of think pieces, and I'm not trying to contribute to it anyway, but the amount of think pieces I've seen on it, probably larger than any show. Now, I think the funniest exchange that I saw regarding social media was there was a white guy complaining that all of the dancers and performers were black.
Right.
Don't you know we ended DEI? This was strictly merit. Yeah. All the best dancers were black. Sorry. So I thought that was a funny exchange. Maybe that was part of the symbolism as well. Like, if it's DEI goes both ways, like, if there's no space for us at the table, there's no space for you at the table. I don't know. With Kendrick, it's always a possibility because he's so layered, because there's such subtlety, whether we're talking about the Canadian tuxedo when he collected the Grammy for Not Like Us. So he's one of those rappers where you think of something, you're like, yeah, he might have thought that, right? Like, I wouldn't think the same for a Soulja Boy. I think he lucked up into something smart. But with Kendrick, he has a pattern that you can see that it is what it is. Let's be honest. Nobody thinks Soulja Boy is at an elite intellectual artistic level. Like, you can like his songs or not. You can Superman all you want to. Nobody's saying, well, when he said Superman, that hoe, what he really meant was, like, it just is what it is. So yeah, Soulja Boy.
If you inflect,
the
H means it's not an S. It's not an S. It's Kryptonian. No, the symbol means hope. So if you take the P out of Superman,
all right.
I'm sorry.
No, that was funny. So Gary, what do you have? Because you're the more politically activist symbolism.
Well, I mean,
go ahead. This is your moment to shine. You can be there's this layer.
I think
layer. Go ahead and interpret, man. Go ahead.
I appreciate. Yeah, I appreciate that. It feels good to be boxed in, man. I think I agree with pretty much everything you said. I'll get my sort of critiques out the way. I do agree that it could have been a bigger show if that's what you were, in terms of the Beyonce was a good analogy. Like it wasn't a Super Bowl show in that respect. And I think, he could have done little touches like had a live band, which would have upped the performance value in all those ways. But for me, as you're pointing out, like
wait,
loved,
for Super Bowl they generally don't allow live bands, right? For that,
right? But they've
that
had
was a big point of contention with Red Hot Chili Peppers. Remember, they couldn't plug in.
yeah.
So
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, they basically play sync, right? No, I get that. But what I was going to say was I loved the layered part of it, and this may be hyperbole, and we'll see. But I think this is one of those performances that it will get better with time, and I think it's the closest thing that we'll have to a Tommy Smith Olympic salute moment in pop culture. I think we will look back at this in 10, 15, 20 years, and it will be, given what's going on right now politically with the government and with this president, I think it's going to ascend to those heights because you're going to be able to watch this and pick up on all those subtle things. And I think in that respect, it was an extremely courageous and brave performance.
Right.
And I think part of the choices he made, to the points we're making about it wasn't really, he didn't play the hits. You can quibble about the song, like he didn't play All Right, right? So like if he didn't play that, and I think to your point about like everything's intentional, I think part of it's not 21, right? Where we're trying to I think Kendrick's like, I don't know if we're gonna be all right. It's up in the air now. Like, so I'm not gonna play that song because shit is crazy. So I think that was the subtext for the performance in a lot of ways. And so I tip my cap to him. I was blown away in the moment, and I knew I had to watch it again. And then of course, as you said, like, everybody started unpacking it and doing the frame by frames and writing that. But right off the bat, when you start off with a Gil Scott Heron quote and then paraphrase and say I'm not that guy, you're like, oh snap, you pay attention. You're like,
so
here.
So that's a debate. Some people think he was referring to himself as the wrong guy. Some people think he was referring to Trump as the wrong guy. So where do you fall on that?
I fall, and he was saying you picked the wrong guy to perform at the Super Bowl. You picked the wrong guy to be here to cape in front of you, Mr. President. And I think
but wouldn't All Right do that? Like All Right, like the whole and we hate Popo, like to say that.
Ooh.
To say that.
Yeah, but
but to be fair, no, you're right. Like Trump is the architect of January 6th, where they're beating Capitol police officers' asses. So Trump might have been like, "Yeah, I hate Popo too." Like, so I don't know.
No, I think I lean towards him being you picked the wrong guy, because I think the whole thing was a big fu to Trump. He was right there. The having Sam Jackson, right, a black dude play Uncle Sam. I mean that's it's so on the nose. There could be no you'd have to be hard pressed to come up with any other explanation. To your point, like everything this dude does, by and large, is intentional. This is not a
right.
He's a smart. That's his whole brand. He's built his entire his artistry is doing that kind of stuff. So I think in that respect, to me, the way I put it was to somebody else that was talking about it. It was art practice at its highest level.
Yeah, like he's the backpacker's backpacker.
Exactly. Yeah, he was practicing. He was. It was definitely he's playing chess. And other people are playing checkers, et cetera, et cetera.
So yeah, my one, like I said, my only critique of it was because it was so GNX centric, it almost felt like an ad for the album and the tour rather than like a culminating Super Bowl performance. And so it's not to say that GNX isn't a good album. It's not to say GNX isn't going to be a good tour. But to me, I almost feel like I don't need to buy tickets for the GNX tour now. Like, it's like I basically see what the interpret. That's probably like what his dry run is. Like, if like cynically, I feel like there's going to be a lot of overlap with the GNX tour and whatever he does on that stage with what he did on the Super Bowl. I feel like he's kind of trying to kill two birds with one stone. I'm not saying he's wrong for that. I'm just saying, you know, like if you're going to protest to leave All Right off, just seems like I'm not gonna say a misstep, but it just seems like you left meat on the bone.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like if you really gonna protest, that's the protest song for his generation of rappers, right? Like we grew up on Public Enemy, right? Like tons of protests, X-Clan. Like we had protests with political rappers were a dime a dozen. Like Kendrick is it. Kendrick is the only mainstream political rapper now. And that's his definitive, you know, people were marching, people were protesting and playing that song. Like it meant so much to the Black Lives Matter movement. I feel like and I know that 2016 Grammy performance, you know, like now they're trying to basically hide the damn thing when he performed All Right, 2016. Like it's kind of, if you look online, like it's kind of hidden relative, but it's still a protest song. He did it with Dre and them. It's like an iconic song. That's my mild critique, but I will let it go. It was just
no. I was bummed, and I agree. Like I thought he should have dropped one of the GNX songs and played All Right. I thought it was an and the only thing I could think of was well, maybe it's not the tone that he wants to strike right now in this moment. But yeah, it could also be what you're saying. Just like he's also a businessman and an entrepreneur,
right?
And you said it earlier, like I ain't mad at him for that either. Like, you know, I'm never gonna be one to try to keep a man from his money. Like, you know, like yeah.
So I saw a list that I sent to Brian where we talk about top 10 halftime performances, and Kendrick was listed on it.
Yes. Pretty high.
He was listed on what, number 4, I think, right?
Yeah, it's like 4.
For me, he's
ahead of Michael Jackson.
But I'm not mad at people saying that it should
this one?
Yeah.
Already?
Yep. Like it came out like yesterday. Sitting there yesterday, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I want to add one thing. I think this ranks high. I mean, I think there's an argument for it to be one of the best as well, but it's because of the you can't separate it from the politics. It's because of who he was doing in front of, right? Let's not forget this is the first time a sitting president has ever attended the Super Bowl, because every other
reason for
knows
that,
it's like it's expensive.
It costs $1 million in security.
Right? It's like 12, whatever it is, 12 million.
It costs us $20 million in taxpayer
exactly.
dollars.
So the context, that's why I rate this higher. I'm acknowledging that if that wasn't in play, like if he did that show with Obama under Obama, I would not rank it as high as I do right now.
Let's go here.
I would have.
If he really wanted to get in, if he really wanted to protest, he's from Cali. He's from the LA area. Mm-hmm. YG is from Cali, LA area. What's one of the biggest YG songs, you know, for the culture? Fuck Donald Trump. Fuck Donald Trump. Yeah, fuck Donald Trump. So if you really want to go there, you can't call up YG.
That would have been, well, so now you're trying to start race riots.
No, I'm just saying.
Nah, man, you could have done that.
If the argument is protest,
oh my God.
Hey, what's more gangster than that? What's more hip hop than that?
I agree.
What's more protest than that? What's more bold than that? What is more I don't care than that? That would have been the most.
To your house with like kerosene in a can, like walking into your house and pouring it and lighting a match.
I'm just saying that would have been the most hip hop move ever. Be like, dude, oh yeah, my friend want to say something. But
you saw how these white people reacted to this show. Right?
Oh yeah. Oh my God.
It's like been crazy. The last 2 days, people have been going crazy.
Let's be honest. They always complain about something.
No, I know.
Girls shall be clutch.
I'm saying they still with this thing, right? Oh, my other funny meme was that was a good one where he's like DEI, the dancers. The other one was it's like white people all over here like saying they can't understand it, and then they go on and put on Pearl Jam.
Oh, yeah, like no.
Hey, so now real quick. So Gary, I pulled up the list real quick. So number 1 is Prince. Number 2 is Dr. Dre. Number 3 is U2. Number 4 is Kendrick. Number 5 is Beyonce and Destiny's Child. Number 6 is Michael Jackson. Number 7 is Bruno Mars and Red Hot Chili Peppers. Nice. Tied with Shakira.
Mike got to be higher than that.
Tied,
that's crazy. Mike is right after Prince, if anything.
And then number 9 is Madonna, Nicki Minaj, Mia, MFAO, and CeeLo Green. And then number 10 was Rihanna. So that was the top 10, which is really 12, but it's 10. Yeah.
I'm going to keep it a buck. I would swap out Madonna for somebody else, but I wouldn't have Kendrick that high. I think Kendrick is in the top 10, but I think he's somewhere between 6 and 10 for me personally. Because I'm talking about the visceral, like seeing it being like, oh shit. Like for me, the top 5 got to be in no particular order, but I'm saying they got to be somewhere in the top 5. Prince, Dre, Bruno, Beyonce, and then I would say
you said 5, right?
Yeah. So with Prince, right? I said Prince, Bruno, what was it? Beyonce. Yeah, Mike. Nah, I think it was Dre. Dre was the 5th.
Dre. You had Dre second. You
Dre.
said Dre
second. So, but yeah, those are my top 5. Like, if you put Kendrick anywhere between 6 and 10, that's fine. I personally wasn't feeling the Madonna performance as much as I felt the Usher performance was stronger. I felt like the Rihanna
I think you could put Diana Ross in there. Helicopter. Remember you could put Diana Ross in there over Madonna easily for me in the top 10. I think there's a little bit of recency bias going on, but
and can we stop with because somebody said after the Usher Super Bowl that was the worst halftime performance ever. I think and it clearly was not a black outlet. It's clearly not like a DEI outlet that said that. Look, unless you don't have ears, Maroon 5 was the worst halftime performance recent. I'm sorry. It just was. It just was. I like Maroon 5 as a band. I did not think that the way they put that performance together was solid, good in any way. It just is what it is. And I'm saying Maroon 5 is arguably one of the better bands of their generation in totality. But people can have an off night. It's just unfortunate. I would put there's an argument for putting Coldplay in the top 10 as well, because you had the Beyonce formation and you had the Bruno guest star, right? Like, remember Coldplay?
Yeah.
I would put Coldplay above Madonna too, honestly. I enjoyed the Coldplay performance more than Madonna. I enjoyed the Usher performance more than Madonna. Rihanna, the thing about she was clearly pregnant, and as such, she couldn't do a lot of the moves.
She was pregnant.
It was okay. It was okay. It was okay.
Brought a +1.
It was okay. Like, it wasn't. It's not top 10 for me, but it was better than, like, I think them pushing Madonna in was a DEI listing. They're like, we gotta have a white person in this. Like,
all right,
Shakira, J-Lo. I feel like we have to like it.
Yeah, we can't not like it.
It was more, they look pretty hot for 50 than it was, yo, this is fire, right? Like, if we really,
Jesus, well,
if we really, I'm sorry, I'm the unfiltered one. I'll own it.
You trying to get our podcast popular or what?
That's what I'm about to say.
Own it. It was, yo, J-Lo looks hot for 50. It wasn't, oh my God.
Tell it like J-Lo it is on here, Brian. That's how we do.
Wow. Well, if we're gonna go there, then the two omissions on from my list. One, if we're gonna keep it for the culture, In Living Color. That's wasn't fair. A halftime show.
Okay.
So it was a halftime show, but it wasn't during the Super Bowl halftime.
Yeah.
And the reason why all these stars are on the halftime show is because of
really? Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, I'll give you credit because the In Living Color halftime show was a competing halftime show for what the Super Bowl had planned,
and it was fired.
Scared the NFL because when the ratings came out, they were like, "Crap, we got to do something to keep the eyes," and that was what brought on the original partnership with Pepsi and later Rock Nation to try and get that. Now, I will tell you, as somebody who this is post Janet Jackson wardrobe malfunction.
That was my other one.
Had to sit through, and Lord, like, as anybody who thought Janet Jackson was attractive, it was a moment. And thank God for the cameraman who was on it that zoomed in, because like his being a man kicked in before his professionalism. And that zoom, like they zoomed in on that joint. You got to see the little sun ring. You got to see there's a little sun ring around the nipple. Like, shout out to that cameraman for his manhood kicking in before his professionalism. I don't know if he got fired after that.
I mean, it's not his fault.
What could have done was cut away, even if dude was zooming. But I think everybody was shocked.
But that was the whole thing. Like, that was a part of the show anyway. It just went too far. So he was supposed to be, he had his blocking right in the first place.
Well, look, I'm saying everybody's probably in shock and didn't realize, and they probably thought it was like a pasty. They probably thought it was a pasty, and that's why they zoomed in. And I was like, oh no, it's a ring around, and then we can still see them. And then it's like, oh, cut to the, but the actual show wasn't that good. Like, Nelly was in it, so it wasn't.
We're still talking about it.
But the only reason we're talking about
21 years ago, we're still talking about it.
Yes, because it was a beautiful. Look, let's not go there. All right. So
wait, hold up. I'm gonna pin this. I mean, we could do an entire podcast episode about the show In Living Color. I mean, I just want to say that.
Yeah, of course.
We probably should circle back to that. So that's a great call.
But where I was going with the nip slip on Janet Jackson is then for the Super Bowl I actually attended in person. The halftime act was Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, which, don't get me wrong, they're good live. They're good live, but they're good live. They're not great live. They're good in that they're on point. Stage banner is great. Everybody has a good time. Everybody feels closer. Like, everybody sings along to the hits. They, you know what I mean? They keep the hands on 10 and 2. It's all very smooth. And I think that there was a run of, let's just get the hands on the 10 and 2 guys after that. They didn't want anything too edgy. After the wardrobe malfunction. And then slowly but surely, they realized they needed to get back to edgy because they just weren't keeping the eyes. So the one Super Bowl I attended, I didn't even know it was going to be Tom Petty for the halftime when I got the ticket, because I didn't pay attention to crap like that.
You're going to Super Bowl.
So yeah, I was just going to the Super Bowl. So it was fine. But that one was better than the Madonna.
Well, I'll say, just as and I know this probably isn't part of the script, but the one act I want to see, especially, and I'm gonna bring it back to Philly. If we're gonna do a Super Bowl halftime show, and it probably won't happen next year. I think it's in Dallas next year, but if it ever comes to Philly, you gotta have the Roots, man. You gotta have the Roots.
I don't think they're big enough. They don't have enough hits. I like them, but they don't have enough hits.
But that's the thing. Like, they can do anything.
Yes, but when you're not plugged in, it kind of defeats the purpose. So right, because the whole, I think, Red Hot Chili Peppers kind of exposed the wizard behind the curtain, right? They purposely ran on with Bruno Mars with they shit unplugged, and we're not even going to bother to play. Like, we're here, we'll sing along or whatever. So I think they allow the live vocals, but they generally do not allow live bands for the halftime in particular. And I think it's a function of a few things, right? Like, it's the amount of plugging in, sound mixing, et cetera, and all that within that compressed period of time. It's very, very tough to plug everything in, like roll everything out, plug everything back in, et cetera, unplug everything, pivot
that's true.
To the commentators, et cetera. The reason that they'll allow like the national anthem or America Beautiful or whatever is because they have plenty of time to unplug, ship the sound back to the commentator, et cetera.
Even that they're lip syncing, right? Like Whitney pre-recorded.
Yeah.
I thought Well, did you think Lady Gaga was lip syncing? I thought she was singing for real. Like I thought her and
were singing what I'm saying is the addendum is they allow for live vocals, but they don't allow for live band. Like the music has to be pre-recorded now. So even if you're going to do a live-ish track, somebody needs to get in there and record it on the sound stage and turn it in so that they can have it running, because they do not want to have to worry about feedback because the guitar amp is too loud and it's aimed at the phone. You got 12 minutes. They don't have all that time to do that. Like everything got to be perfect. So that would defeat the purpose of the Roots, even if they had hits, which they don't have.
I think that's right. I think in general it's your play syncing or lip syncing, but to the Roots thing, I do think there's the way that are Roots, that the local boys could play a Super Bowl in Philly. First of all, I don't think it would ever happen, but if it did, I think it would be by way of guests, right? Like they would basically play their one or two big hits, and then they would have other people come on and they would back them up, and that would be
that's what I was thinking. That's what I was thinking.
I think it would be like
also they have,
but they would still be billed as the Roots Super Bowl in Philly.
So as somebody who respects and loves the Roots and thinks they have at least 2 classic albums, they have exactly one stadium worthy hit. Like Let's Keep It a Band, The Seed. That's it. Like that is the one crossover stadium-ish hit. Like You Got Me is cool, but a stadium ain't rocking out to that. Like it's a great song. It did well for them. But stadium-wise, like we talk about like football stadium-wise, The Seed, that's it. Like like it's got the guitar for the white people. It's cool crossover. Like that's the one.
White people like guitar?
If somebody called them in to do The Seed as a guest, that's it. That's that, and then they out. Like you don't need them beyond that for that caliber of performance. Now, if they want to do the Grambling Southern halftime, join the Battle of the Bands, I think that's a great vehicle for them. That would be a perfect halftime for them. You got music.
Okay.
Like I would be 100% in support of that, or something like that, like some HBCU kind of joint where it's like the bands are getting down. Like that's a perfect vehicle for them, or like a lower tier streaming app game, because they're throwing these little games on streaming apps now. Give them that halftime, cool. Like I think that's good for them. But I think for something as big as the Super Bowl, they only have that one The Seed song that kind of touches all buckets or whatever.
Okay.
And I say that with love. Shout out to love. Philadelphia Half-Life is a classic. Things Fall Apart is a classic. All that, but they don't have like hits. Like where like you and I travel, and like we never hear Roots in the club like that consistently in all these different countries. It's different than I hear Usher, I hear Black Eyed Peas, I've heard Gaga, I've heard Kendrick in the clubs, I've heard Drake in the club. Like what I mean? Like it's not that tier. Like
way to kill my dreams, Non.
Pitbull would get it before Roots. I guess what I'm saying.
Right. No, that's fair. That's fair.
So can we linger? Can we circle back real quick? What was Drake doing the morning after the Super Bowl, or during that performance?
The lawsuit.
Yeah.
Adding people to the lawsuit. Like, right? Because he's decided that he's going to sue, and he's either going to threat of discovery his way into some money and some settlements, or that he is going to cease and desist his way into Not Like Us, maybe not getting some commercial syncs and some TV syncs and some movie syncs. I think that's essentially what he's doing. He's trying to control the damage from a legal standpoint and make sure that Not Like Us doesn't get any bigger. And so now if somebody is going to do Not Like Us as part of their...
What a Grammy.
And if somebody's going to, right? Because Not Like Us is a big song. There's a lot of brands that might want to say, yeah, they Not Like Us, we're the better brand. And that would be the perfect song for whatever their campaign is. But with Drake suing everybody who's trying to make that song bigger, they might back off of using that on the campaign. So I think essentially, in a roundabout passive aggressive way, Drake is trying to stop the full monetization of Not Like Us via lawsuit because he has somehow decided not to make such a big record to make people forget about Not Like Us. I don't know why.
Damn.
He's capable of it. No,
I don't know,
no, let's be fair.
Hold up. I don't know that he's capable. No.
Drake has hits. No, time out. We all think Kendrick won the battle. That's not what this is about. What this is about is Drake's track record as a hit maker. Whether you want to say he has ghostwriters, whatever the packaging is, whoever is helping him making these hits, at the end of the day, Drake has made some great #1 records, some great worldwide big records. And he has it within his power, within his network to make another one of these big records. Like he had like 2 big records with Rihanna. He's had big records on his own. He just needs to go back to that sing-songy poppy thing he does and just sing his way into a big hit that's everywhere, that the girls are all playing, and everybody will forget about A minor. But the problem is he thinks he can rap his way out of it instead of doing the sing-songy poppy thing that everybody loves him for. And the more he raps, the more people are reminded, oh, he's rapping, but he can't rap better than Kendrick. Kendrick just out-rapped him. When he needs to do another Hold On, We're Going Home, where the girls are like, oh, he likes us. And then it's all over. That's all he needed to do. And I said this, I said this in the old podcast when we said Kendrick won. All he had to do was make another poppy joint.
I think.
Go ahead.
Here's my quick counter. Mm-hmm. I think it's sort of like I'll use like the final battle in 8 Mile with Papa Doc, the scene where M comes out and he counters, he predicts everything, and then when it's Papa Doc, Anthony, shout out to Anthony Mackie, when he comes up,
he beat Captain America.
Here, white boy beat the black Captain America. And so when he comes out, there's that scene where the crowd is like, just they're so hyped from M's rap that like Papa Doc is shook, and he's just like, and he just hands up. I think that's what happened with Drake. I think there's an element of like where he's just like, he got like, because think about what happened. He goaded this dude into a battle, thought he won for 2 months because he didn't respond, and then basically gift wrapped him a Grammy in the form of a song that would not have happened had he just like gone about his business and not tried to, but he basically like it. And so I just think, you're right on paper. It's one of those things like on paper, like, yeah, he could do another hit, but I think he's in his own head. I think he's like Doc at the end of that battle, and he's just looking out at the crowd and they're vibing with Kendrick. And he doesn't have a response other than, I'm going to use lawfare to win this shit. I'm going to like hire my lawyers because that's the easy low hanging fruit.
Both things together. Sorry, man. I want to blend both things together because like I think we're both saying similar things. Like, is Drake capable of making a hit that will put him on the top of the charts? Yes. Is Drake capable of making? But in order for Drake to get out of where he is, he has to make a rap. He has to diss Kendrick back and win a Grammy, because that's what the bar is now.
So I think
he can't do that. He does not have that capability in him. So he just doesn't.
I think there's a couple of different buckets. I think in hip hop, like the culture, and when I say the culture, I mean people who live, breathe, really believe in hip hop. Like Kendrick won, Drake is done. And when I say done, I don't mean his career's over. No. That Drake picked a battle. He's essentially not picked 2 battles, but he's essentially egged on 2 battles and took them into deep water where he wasn't able to swim. He talked about 2 rappers' families who don't play that, and so they turned it up a notch, and he wasn't ready for the red button in both cases. In terms of Pusha T, which he was able to bounce back from, right? Scorpion, he started doing a bunch of sing-songy God's Plan and Nice for What, and girls were happy again. They forgot about the deadbeat dad thing and they were back dancing. Cool. I just think that Drake this time, whether it's because of some of the leaks to Kendrick. He doesn't trust his immediate team like he used to, and so the vibe isn't there. Because I think on 616 in LA, Kendrick is alluding to saying, "Hey, some of the guys in your camp don't like you because you fucked them over, so they're leaking info to me." And so now Drake is like more paranoid, and as we all know as musicians, when you go into a collaboration and you don't trust your collaborators, it definitely affects the quality of what you're able to give, because you have to be a little bit vulnerable to get to a good songwriting place and ultimately a good finished song. So I think there might be some inner turmoil there. He might be finding a new team that can get him there. I don't know. But at the end of the day, I think he has to do what he did after Pusha T took him out. Like, he has to get back to that sing.
Yeah, but Pusha didn't take him out like Kendrick took him out.
That's right. I was gonna say, like, so, they not like us that won a Grammy and didn't perform at halftime at the Super Bowl.
I agree, but what I'm saying is all of these poppy kind of casual hip hop fans would be right back with Drake if he dropped something.
That's fair. That's fair.
Like, able to, because we're talking about, there's the culture discussion, but then there's the pop music or larger, pop culture discussion, right? So there's the hip hop culture discussion. Kendrick is up and Drake's doing is a bitch move. That's what the hip hop culture decision and discussion is. In the pop culture discussion, nobody cares if he sues, if we all back dance and do a Drake cut in the clubs and girls can do their little selfie TikToks to a new banger.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Brian. Go ahead.
I just think that the way that, that beef transcended, like, okay, so I'll give you what your argument is valid with Pusha T, or your point is valid with Pusha T versus Drake, because that was within, like, that didn't go past world star hip hop.
No. There were people, like, the Walking Dead official account was tweeting about it, ended up on CNN, Today's Show, and everybody was clowning Drake. I'm serious. It was in USA Today papers. Like, I'm telling you, it got national coverage. The fact that Pusha T,
did it get national coverage a year later? Because that's what we're talking about now,
right?
I mean,
well, yeah, went out in what, May? Did it drop in May? Was it May?
Yeah, we're in
Memorial,
February,
right?
dude. So 9 months later, is it still leading and international? There are people in Mongolia playing Not Like Us.
Right, he hasn't dropped. If I remember correctly, Kendrick dropped later, or not? No, Drake dropped later that summer with Scorpion, right? And so that's what I'm saying. The fact that he's kind of namby-pamby, I'll do 2 with Camila Cabello, but they're not really star turns, and then I'll drop this half-ass rapidy rap joint, and then I'll drop one on Instagram, but not official. But none of these joints are hits, and that's what I'm saying. I think if he drops, he'll be able to shift the conversation for casuals. I'm talking casuals.
No, I'm talking about casuals too. I'm saying like that's like my mom knows about Drake versus Kendrick. That's what I'm saying. 70,000 people saying A minor.
So what do you think hurt worse? Hearing the Super Bowl all go A minor in unison, or hearing the Grammys go A minor in unison for Drake? What do you think hurt?
Super Bowl's broadcast around the globe. It's one of the most watched things, on the planet.
I hear you, but you know what I mean? It's like if a bunch of people you don't know versus basically your coworkers and peers are yelling A minor. You get what I'm saying?
I'll put it to you like this now, to answer your question. I think it was the Grammys when it happened until the Super Bowl happened. And then it was like, like, I think the Grammys hurt like shit, to your point. And then when the Super Bowl happened, he's like, motherfucker, really? Now,
I'll give you a food analogy.
Go ahead.
So the Grammys was Five Guys. The Super Bowl's McDonald's.
Right.
You feel me?
Yeah. So I mean,
one quick thing though. I think the other thing we're not talking about, right? Because I think in everything on paper can be true. Like, can he get back to casuals the way you're talking about now? Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
But here's the other part of it. He's a man, right? Like, he knows deep down there's a psychological component to it outside of all the PR and the strategy that has to be considered. And I think he is at a point to Brian's point earlier, like he has chosen to respond in this way. You were making the point too, no, like because he knows like, oh, I'm not technically capable of doing. I can't. It's like if you get in a fight with somebody and somebody's like pop 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 pop, and you're like, shh, and you're like, oh, I don't fight good enough to fight that person.
Right.
Once as a man, when you know that, there's a little bit of paralysis that goes behind that for a time. I don't know how long it's gonna last, but I just think it's what I mean with the Papa Doc thing. Like Papa Doc knew, like, oh, this white boy in the movie is a more talented rapper than me because he just flipped this entire black crowd against me, and I'm shook. Like he was just like, and I think that's the ultimate thing that's happened with Drake is that he is shook on some level, and all he has is his lawyers. He's in that mode. If he, yeah, maybe he's in the studio right now doing what you're talking about now. I don't know until I see it, but I haven't seen it yet. So. You know, all we see are lawsuits and silence, right? So,
and also the thing about it with Drake too, and then we can kind of talk about legacy, kind of going back to Super Bowl. Anytime you have your label mad at you, you have to walk such a tightrope that I don't know that it's going to be healthy for his creative mindset either, right? Yeah. Because if you take your label to court, there are very rare situations where I've seen where you're suing your label and you end up making a banger or a classic. Usually it's just people are really in a bad headspace. And I know he's out on tour, and hopefully those crowds are getting his mindset back creative, and he's feeling that energy, and he's taking that and building on that and getting himself to where mentally he can create new records. Like he's seeing what they react to, and maybe he's feeding off of that, and he's gonna drop a masterpiece. Because sometimes taking a loss or having a catastrophic hurt is like a good catalyst for like a good album, right? Like we've seen. Right. So just to wrap things up, because we talked about halftime a lot. Legacy, right? Because we pregame we said Andy Reid legacy, Mahomes legacy, Hall of Fame, et cetera, et cetera. I think for Eagles, it's a very easy conversation. Howie becomes a Hall of Famer candidate because you put essentially 1.5 Super Bowls together. I say because there's some holdover from the last team that won the Super Bowl, but it was like 8 years ago, right? Like I think about 8 years ago. So most of those players are not back. So I would say he's architected to. Go ahead. Sorry.
I think Brandon Graham was the only player that was from the previous team.
So you gotta give Howie his credit there. I think he becomes a contributor candidate for the Hall of Fame as a GM. I think Nick Sirianni is finally out of the hot seat. I think there are multiple times where various people tried to have him fired in favor of Bill Belichick at one time because they thought Belichick would take the team over because Nick Sirianni, they felt choked down the stretch last year when they started off great and they had a series of losses. I think the talk is done. I think he's safe for at least another 3 years because, he won it all. He's safe for 3 years because it's Philly, and Philly turns on you quicker than any other fan base I've ever seen in my life. Ask Andy Reid, ask McNabb. So beyond that, I don't know who else gets in the Hall of Fame. Maybe A.J. Brown because he had a Hall of Fame career anyway. Stats-wise, I think he's going to have a Hall of Fame career anyway, and the ring takes it over the top. I think maybe I'm trying to remember if any of the offensive
not from this game. Not from this game, bro.
Any of the offensive linemen? Well, no, but what I'm saying is between the stats and having the ring, sometimes that takes you over. That you get what I'm saying? Like he did all this and he won a ring, and everybody's like, oh, okay, we'll vote for him.
The wide receiver room is pretty crowded
in this game because yes, receiver is one of the toughest positions to get into. But I think when AJ is done with his career, he's going to have a Hall of Fame level of stats. and he's going to have the ring to point to where some wide receivers didn't. Like,
but he wasn't the reason for the ring, though. I can't.
No, I agree. But so a T.O., right? For instance, Terrell Owens, he was hard to like as a player, but he did put up a lot of stats. But one of the knocks on him was he never got a ring. I'm telling you what the arguments were. I think it opens the door for AJ Brown potentially to get in there. I don't remember if any of the O linemen were on both Super Bowl teams. If so, maybe some of the O linemen will become in the discussion, because to get 2 titles as an O lineman and the tush push, and it was unstoppable in that whole thing, that run might be an interesting conversation. But because for most of these people it's their first ring, I don't know if it solidified enough people's legacies yet. I think they got to win 1 or 2 more to really be in that next conversation. I think for Andy,
which could happen. I mean, this is the youngest defensive, in the league right now. So I think, it could happen.
I agree. The interesting thing will be when Detroit is healthy, or if Detroit is able to get, what does that head-to-head look like? Now, did Detroit have too much of a brain drain losing their O coordinator and D coordinator to get right back? But then you look, and the Eagles lost their O coordinator, so we'll just have to see, net what that does, because some people have a great bench and they can just promote the next guy and be fine. For a while we had that until we didn't. Like, we started running out of offensive coordinators. Like, first we were good with Charlie Weiss, and then McDaniels, and then Billy O'Brien, and then McDaniels. And then when McDaniels left the second time, we had nobody to really do it. And they're like, oh, let's make a defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator. So that didn't work out. So we'll have to see. For the Chiefs, a lot of people are really saying Mahomes, like, it's like they're overcorrecting, where they wanted to say he was better than Brady if he won this one. Now it seems like some people are now knocking Mahomes down to below Montana, which is appropriate, but you get what I'm saying. Like, before, there was an argument that if Mahomes won 3 in a row, he was better than Brady. Now there's this argument that because his stats weren't and his performance wasn't what we thought it should be on this big stage, is he even better than Montana? Which I think the short answer.
I'll tell you what. I'll take Mahomes' worst stats in the Super Bowl versus Brady's worst stats in the Super Bowl any day on the week, twice on Sundays. You forget that ramp. You forget that last them stat. I'll tell you what.
Okay. Did you look at the timeout? Did you look at the stats against Tampa Bay? Those are some brutal stats, bro.
But
I don't know what you mean that.
I mean, that's one of those. It's just like recency bias, right? Like, I mean, freaking Eli Manning beat Brady twice in the Super Bowl.
Well, I think come on, but I think what I think the thing about Brady is, it's like his peers were defined by what they did against him. You get what I'm saying? That's how good Brady is. Like, Brady got the 7 rings, and
that's what's happening now.
And the only Mahomes. Well, no, I was about to say, and the only reason people give a fuck about Eli is he beat Brady twice, not because, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, nobody's gonna say Eli's better than, but I think that's what I'm saying in terms of the chatter about all this BS.
No, but they are saying is Eli first. There is a argument, a bad one, but an argument on Eli being a first ballot Hall of Famer, which is absolutely
and he wasn't. He didn't get. And he shouldn't have. He won't have the stats for it. He doesn't have the stats. He does have 2 rings. There's a lot of quarterbacks with 2 rings that I think get in just because I think in general the media tries to give quarterbacks leeway if they win 2 titles. So, for example, I think Kurt Warner is okay. I don't think that Kurt Warner deserved to get it as early as he did relative to his candidacy. Because, look, if you look at his Giants years, trash, garbage. He wasn't this consistent. You get what I'm saying? Like, you think,
Brian, I'm screenshotting that. I'm screenshotting that as a still for the thumbnail.
What?
Really?
What?
Really?
What I'm saying is it was like two cool careers. It wasn't like dominance all the way through. You get what I'm saying? Like that's
neither was Brady either. If we're gonna keep it a buck, he just played forever.
No, but what I mean by that is Brady was way more consistent than Kurt Warner, and it's not close. Montana was way more consistent than Kurt Warner, and it's not close. Like Brady didn't have what the fuck years put him back on the bench. When was Brady?
Well, he kind of did. He kind of did towards the end of New England. You just kind of, forget that point. But it's all good. Which is why the reason he finished his career in Tampa Bay. But hey, it's whatever, man.
All right.
You got the Patriot color glasses on. It's cool. I get it.
I will. Okay, we will. That'll be a separate podcast where we can go through Kurt Warner's worst years and Brady's worst years, and it'll be fun. I'm telling you now, because Brady never got benched for Garoppolo, and Garoppolo ended up being a starter elsewhere. And
I have one quick thing.
Go ahead.
To push back on slightly against and obviously I give you your due respect. You guys know way more about football than I do, but I will say I don't think it's crazy to talk about, not yet, but I think there's an argument to be made that they're in the vicinity of the 85 Bears, right? There's a couple of like stats that flashed across the screen during the game. They had the second lowest rushing total since 85. And they also had the second best rushing and second best defense in the league since the 85 Bears. So I don't think it's totally crazy. And I think I will be interested to see all the stat heads kind of go in and give us some of the deeper stats and make those comparisons between the two. I don't think it's that crazy.
So here's what I'll say about that. I think that you can say that the Eagles had a dominant defense without. I think sometimes we want to, just because somebody had a good year, try to say they're just as good or they're at shouting distance as some of the best ever. Keep in mind that the 85 Bears only lost one game to Marino Lights, right? Philly lost 3 games. Now, one of them, granted, Hurts was knocked out, but on the flip side of that, the Commanders turned the ball over 5 times, Gary. 5 friggin' times, and the Eagles still lost. Okay, so my struggle there is 5 turnovers. I'm sorry, if you give the 85 Bears 5 turnovers, it's a wrap. The 85 Bears are not losing that damn game. Marino did not turn the ball over 5 times in that L. Marino played lights the hell out. Okay, so that's my one comment on that. I think that it's okay to say the Eagles had, if you want to say a top 25 all-time defense for Super Bowls, top 25 defensive performances, even top 20. That's fine. I think that's okay, man. They did allow 22 points. Some of that was in garbage time, but they had a pick six is obviously important. Forcing 2 turnovers. Yeah, forcing 2 turnovers beyond that is important. But okay, but then what's allowing 3 points? What's allowing 8 points, right? Like you want to talk about Seattle Seahawks, the year they won, Broncos were considered the #1 offense all time. Like, they broke the record for offense. Peyton Manning was supposed to be the god tier quarterback. It's just everybody else had let him down. Peyton Manning was just so much greater. And they proceeded to slap him around and send him home confused with lipstick on his face by the time they got done with him. It was just bad. Like, he only put up 8 points. It just was what it was. So I get the pride in what the Eagles defense is doing. But I will say with 100% conviction, the Seahawks defense that year scares me more than this Eagles defense. That's no disrespect to either team. I'm just saying that Broncos team, I think, would have done more against your defense than the Chiefs team could have done against that Seattle defense. Like, that defense like people really needed to get film on them to be competitive that next year. Like it was that one season of film that saved them. But that year when there wasn't that film on them, and they're like, we do what we do, and you do what you can do about it. That just to me, I'm sorry, but
yeah. You make good points.
Yeah.
Well, what I'll say is, I think it's too early. If we're sitting here next year, you know, having the same discussion, or even I'm not saying they win a Super Bowl again based on the defense, but it's, you know, if it's one of those things where it's like, okay, well, you know, something happened, like a fluke play, and that, the E's surprise, to Non's delight, like there's the offsides and overtime that decides the game where the, like if it's right, they're right there, they're right there, and it's because of the defense. Like that's the track record of historic defenses. Even though the 85 Bears, like they won Super Bowl that year, but the year before, the year after, you knew you had to come strap up and you had to beat their defense.
Right.
Whereas with Philly, like their defense last year was trash. Like in 23, their defense was terrible. Absolutely. Now they struck gold. They got all the rookies, but you got to handle that over a year. With the 2000 Ravens, like they won with was it Trent Dilfer?
That's another great point. Yeah.
Yeah. But years around that, you knew when you played Ray Lewis and them Ravens and Ed Reed and them, you were playing their defense. You wasn't worried about the offense. So I think that's a story yet to be told. But they have the potential to 100%.
Do it. Gary,
I remember
you're losing 3 free agents off your defense too. Well, maybe you're not losing all 3, but Bond is up, Josh Sweat is up, and Milton Williams is up, and y'all only got $18 million in cap space, and you have 4 offensive linemen that are up. So how are you going to stretch that $18 million to re-sign, 4 of those players even? I don't know.
It's not going to happen. I mean, unless you go out with you just say do it for the prize.
Well, no, I mean, but there's a business side of it. But even with that, like with those other great defenses, like those cornerstones were there.
Yeah.
So you have that at every level with the Eagles, just like you had that at every level with the Ravens, who was the last grade, with the Steelers, with the Giants. Well, not the Giants. With the Bears. With the Seahawks, like you had great players at every level. So I think you had the cornerstone.
Jog my memory, Brian, by putting it that way, because I was a kid when I was 12 years old when that happened, and I remember the memory I have of my childhood self. It's not quite the same when I think of as good as this defense is. I don't think of them in a similar. I think in the same way, like that. You're right. That was like all I knew about the Bears was McMahon's a good quarterback, but it's their defense that makes them tick.
Yeah, Singletary.
Jalen Hurts is a better quarterback than McMahon. So, so that
Not hard. That's not hard. McMahon was always mid. He just had.
That was the whole point. Like it didn't matter.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, he could hand the ball off to Walter Payton and watch him play defense.
And they had that cool song, with refrigerator.
Super Bowl Shuffle. Oh my God.
Oh yeah. So there was the Pat song called "Leader of the Pats." They tried to do it. Yeah, it didn't.
Oh no. I mean, most of the teams tried, and it's all hilarious.
The worst one is the Rams one that I sent you. Nobody was like, "Hey, maybe we should."
Oh man. Well.
Yep. So yeah, I think we're pretty much done with legacy. I think Reed is still gonna make the Hall of Fame. I think Mahomes will still make the Hall of Fame.
Of course.
I don't think that this GOAT talk will be at the same fever pitch come next season. I think people are taking a breath now and realizing that it's okay.
Not even 30 yet.
I think it's okay to let somebody's career play out before naming them the GOAT. And I think that I know a lot of times we live in a hot take culture where talking heads feel like they need to have something to talk about every day. But it's okay to say, what does so-and-so need to get the GOAT status rather than argue, if he does this, he's the GOAT. Because to me, again, Montana has 4 as a QB. You got to get to 4 first, and then the debate is between you and Montana. If you're not at 6, don't call me, don't text me, don't email me. Because 6 is lower than 7. But if it's 6 and you did X, Y, Z, that's a different conversation. But if
I don't agree with that.
Don't even have 4.
No, I don't agree with that. Just because the way the game is played, you know, how the game has changed, you know, like there's a lot of there's some nuance to the discussion. So like if you got an accomplishment that no one else had before,
right,
that puts you in the conversation.
Right.
I mean, it didn't happen because no one else has done before, and there's a reason for that.
Right.
But right now you're comparing, you know, trajectory versus longevity.
Yeah.
The trajectory is there.
Right.
It's just longevity, and we just gotta wait. And it's okay with that.
Yeah, and so because Gary and I had this discussion about if Mahomes wins another one, does he belong in the GOAT conversation? And I said everybody wanted to say Tiger Woods was going to beat Nicklaus's record for majors because he was on that trajectory. And unfortunately, he never did. Now, there's a lot of off-course reasons for that.
Is he gonna pull it off?
No.
One more?
Why? He's why? Between the car accident,
he could barely walk, man.
Yeah, so that car accident, and he had knee issues before the car accident,
right?
But
yeah,
him coming back because even then he was struggling. So that doesn't mean he doesn't have a great career. That doesn't mean that he isn't the second of all. That I think he's the second best of all time, and that's okay.
Yeah,
I think that there are things that Tiger Woods had to deal with that Jack Nicklaus didn't. When you look at how closed off back then, it was still allowed to ban black people from country clubs. And there were scenarios where, he was supposed to perform at these tournaments with Stanford, and there were issues with the country club and he couldn't go in and things like that. As we're talking about the 90s, because people like to run around and say that, racism has been gone a long time and people are being too woke. But no, this was as recently as the 90s, there were country clubs that Tiger couldn't get in being the best golfer.
Wait, the NFL ended racism. We're good. It's over.
And we had a black president. Come on, man.
Yeah, it's over, man.
Yeah, I saw that they had to remove
Condoleezza Rice, baby. What's up, man? Come on.
They had to remove end racism from the end zone.
So what I was going to say was I don't even know that I would necessarily say he's second best, because I think there's still an argument that he's over. Just if you're going off titles, I don't think that it's sort of like the NBA thing where like Nicklaus was not playing the same caliber of players that Tiger was. So like to make apples to apples comparison, I think you'd have to like factor in those differences.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I think Tiger also revolutionized the game, but it was in an era where information was so readily available that younger players could copy every damn thing that he did earlier. You know what I mean? Like when Tiger Woods was being trained, it was all new. It was all groundbreaking. Like his dad was inventing stuff to do when he was 2 that people just hadn't thought of a 2-year-old doing. So that by the time he was 18, he was already a beast. And so it's like the blueprint was out there for everybody to start their kid at 2 now and literally copy that to where he has to deal with clones of himself in his 30s. That being said, I do think that part of the GOAT conversation has to be, what did you do relative to what your surrounding cast was? Because I think that's important too. I think one of the things that was always interesting about Brady is, except for Randy Moss, he never really had a Hall of Fame wide receiver to throw to. He had a Hall of Fame tight end the second 3 titles, but he never had like a Hall of Fame wide receiver to throw to, or a Hall of Fame running back to hand off to. And in terms of the 6 with Patriots, obviously when we get to the Buccaneers, I think Mike Evans is a valid Hall of Fame candidate. Would you not agree? Mike Evans. Yeah. So
he'll get in eventually.
Yeah, and then he was able to dust off Gronk and dust off Antonio Brown, who may or may not be a Hall of Fame candidate because he's
no. I mean, he's Hall of Fame worthy. He won't make
right.
If he doesn't make it, it'll be because of him just being AB. That's a whole nother topic.
Yeah. Yeah. But I say that to say, if you look at who Peyton had to throw to and still could only end up with 2 rings, that's another mark against. So I would say Mahomes is already better than Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
And I say that with my chest, and I say that without apologizing to anybody, because I think Mahomes has done what he was supposed to do when he had the players around him that could make him get to that next level. I think that he's underperformed way less at a lower rate than all of Peyton Manning's playoff chokes, right? Like you got Reggie Wayne, you got Edgerrin James, and at one point there's also Marshall Faulk. You had Marvin Harrison running around, and you could only get 2 titles, bro. Like,
And Tom Brady had a top 10 defense half of his career.
Okay.
Is Mahomes better in season 8 of his career than Brady was in his season 8?
And it's not close.
All right, so better. So let's clarify this. Better,
just straight up, like what we conventionally understand.
In terms of better pure talent, in terms of pure physical talent, or in terms of
talent and results.
Who's the better quarterback?
And it's not close.
Who's the better quarterback in season 8? Like at the same year.
So all right,
none. This is very simple. This is very simple. We're going off rings and championships and accomplishments.
Got it.
Mahomes has started his career going to the AFC Championship game every year.
Yep.
Did Brady do that? Yes or no?
Nope.
Okay. Conversation over. Conversation over. Conversation over. There's nothing to counter to that. If we're talking about accomplishments. Now, if we're talking about stats and skills, I know he's beating with those too, but results going into it, the argument that Brady has is longevity. He does not have a talent argument. He doesn't have an accomplished argument to this point in their shared careers.
So,
and I will die on that.
The tough part of this is Brady's knee was blown out in 2008.
Don't care.
No, but what I'm saying is, but the year before they went undefeated until the Super Bowl, right?
Did they win?
So they won.
Did they lose?
They lost.
Okay, then. So who had more Super Bowl wins and more AFC Championship game appearances going into this season, in this part of their career? The answer is Mahomes.
They're tied. What are you talking about?
So Brady has 3. So Brady went to AFC Championship game every 3
titles. Mahomes has 3 titles. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Brady
did Brady go to the AFC Championship game every season going to that? So it's a yes. It's a simple yes or a simple no.
So I'm trying to remember what happened in 2005. So no.
Okay.
But he was in 2001.
Were they straight? Bro, why are you ducking this, man? It's either straight or they weren't.
2006, 2007.
Oh my God.
I'm trying to remember 2009.
My God.
What's up?
Simple. I already asked you the question. You already answered. Why are we circling back?
No, I was just trying to remember. So he went to 5.
Well, you remember 5 is 5 more than 7?
No.
Okay, then. So that deads the argument. That deads it.
So
because he didn't have the stats. He clearly did not have the stats Mahomes had going into this season. So I'm throwing that out. We just going to accomplishments. And the fact you got to think about it, we already know what the answer is, man. What? Just let it go, man. It's okay. It's okay.
So
Brady's still the GOAT. I'm not arguing that.
So Mahomes is what, 3-2, and Brady was 3-1 over the same period with a blown out knee for one of the seasons. Like he had a DNP.
Did he go to the AFC Championship game 7 straight seasons? Yes or no?
No.
Okay, then so that means by default that Mahomes has had a better start than Brady. Why is that so hard to admit, man? Let it go.
I think that's fair. I was just trying to run the numbers.
We ran the numbers. I gave it to you.
Yeah. So
it is.
I think Mahomes had a better start, just like, Tiger had a better start to his career than Nicklaus did.
Okay. And that's
the question isn't.
And again,
how do you start? The question is, how do you finish?
Well, you put it good the earlier when you said it's I think that's a good way of thinking about it, is like understanding it is trajectory versus longevity, right? I mean, it's a similar thing across sports, whether it's Nicklaus and Tiger or LeBron and Jordan, right? I mean, so yeah, that kind of stuff is like is fascinating from that perspective to think of it that way.
But the fact that you can even have the conversation kind of validates the point in my mind. You see what I'm saying? Like the fact that we can even compare that's where, that's kind of where, that's where we are. But
I think, it's fine to say that Mahomes has a better trajectory. The question is, can he make that payoff with rings? And that's the TBD. But
absolutely, that's what I was gonna say.
But until it's determined, it's like, I don't think it's fair to. I think you have to tie Montana in titles to get in the GOAT conversation, and until you do that, I don't call me, don't text me, don't email me.
That's fair,
right? Because at the end of the day, Montana played in a tougher era. Like we all agree, there were a lot of things that you could do to the quarterback and to receivers in his era where, if the rules back then were the way they are now, I guarantee you he would have had better stats and probably would have snuck out a few more rings, even in his Kansas City days. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So I say that to say, that's no disrespect to Mahomes. I think Mahomes is a singular talent. I think Mahomes in some ways has changed the way that quarterbacks play, how quarterbacks are scouted, what offenses are doing now with mobile quarterbacks, how offensive coordinators are designing their offense, all of that. He's a generational talent, but I think the GOAT conversation was always premature. I think that Sunday showed that. But I was saying
no.
I was saying that last year.
Nope. I can't let you have that one, man. Because I can tell you right now. So in order to say that, put prime Brady behind that line against the Philadelphia line, and you will get the same result, if not worse. So you can't put that on. You can't put that on Mahomes. Now, could Mahomes have performed better? Yes. But if we're talking about GOAT comparisons, and the GOAT is a dude that can't get out of a wave of a moving phone booth, nah, my guy, I can't give you that one.
So here's the thing. Here's the one caveat that I will respond with on that. What you would have said of Brady is he would have done a lot more checkdowns and a lot more screens and a lot more draws, and he would have been more active at changing the plays.
Again, 6 sacks with no blitzes. Nah, bro. I'm not giving you that, man. Was way better than the New York line and the who knocked them out, the Rams. Way better than both of them lines. And Brady looked like he looked like he was about to file for Social Security right then and there on the field in all 3 of them games. So no, you can't.
I gotta own up to that. That was my big. I predicted that they would show blitz a little more, and I was totally wrong. They had no blitzes at all. So just putting that.
Brady has proven over and over again that is his kryptonite. So you can't say, well, rules break. Nah, bro, he would have got wrecked just like Mahomes would have got wrecked. Worse.
All right.
Which is why he retired. He had offensive talent. He got Hall of Fame receivers. He got good tight ends, good running back, but he getting hit. And that's fine. It's okay. But that's his. Everybody can have a weakness, and that's his.
Hey, man, there's 2 people undefeated in this life. Father Time and the internet. Okay? Never forget.
Facts.
All right. I think that about does it. I think we pretty much covered it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Listen, I was learning a lot from the both of y'all. Appreciate you, Brian, for dropping some wisdom and football knowledge on us as always. Likewise. Appreciate you, brother. And yeah, man, we got that was a good one, man. A lot happened in the last couple of days. It was a great game. The blowout notwithstanding. And I'll be at the parade on Friday, so look for me on the TV, on the tube.
Yeah, not TV, not the police blotter.
Yeah, stay away from the poles, Gary. Stay away from the poles.
We don't climb them no more. We just pull them down now.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, that sounds like Philly.
Yeah.
Don't hate. Listen.
Hey, vandalism.
Congrats, man. No hate, man. No hate here. Congrats, man.
Yeah. So, hey, thanks everybody for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. That's how we help with the algorithm. Shout out to Brian for helping us out with breaking down the post game. Brian, you want to shout out your socials? Tell people where they can find you.
Hey, at BDX47 everywhere. That's what we do.
All right, that's what's up. So, thanks everybody for joining us. We'll have Brian back for pre-draft. Sometime in April. We'll get the timing right, the scheduling right, and we'll have him back for that. His free agency will be done. I feel like it's a waste of time to have draft talk before free agency. Kind of got to let that settle, see which teams ended up with the big dogs, and then you figure out what they need in the draft. So
I want to talk comics and food with you too, bro. So we definitely got to get you back for that.
Oh, no doubt. Any day.
80s and 90s Marvel and DC. Like I want to go in on it,
man. Maybe like after Thunderbolts.
Yeah. That comes out in May. Yeah, that'll be good. Because we would have seen what comes out of Captain America.
Yeah, and then we could rank the ranking of like Marvel shows.
Ooh.
Shout out to Cloak and Dagger, underrated series. I stand on that. But yeah, thanks everybody for watching. All right, man. Thanks, Brian, for joining, man.
No problem, man. Out here.
All right, take care, y'all.
Yeah, peace.
All right, peace.